Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're stepping inside a world most of us will thankfully only see from the outside, the modern operating room. Forget the TV dramas, though. We're going much deeper, looking into those often hidden inefficiencies that can challenge even the best surgical teams. It's a really high-stakes environment.
It really is. And for you listening in, maybe you're managing complex projects yourself, or maybe you're just fascinated by how these intricate systems work. Well, this should be pretty revealing.
Yeah.
We've been looking at information from CureVision. They specialize in OR integration systems, and specifically their thoughts on workflow bottlenecks.
Right. So our mission really is to uncover those common, often overlooked limitations in current OR setups, and then think about potential solutions.
And it's important to say this isn't about blaming individuals, is it?
Not at all. It's definitely not about questioning the skills or dedication of the medical professionals. It's really about understanding the systemic hurdles they can sometimes face.
And think of it like this. An operating room is supposed to be this highly tuned engine, right? The expectation is always perfection, perfect synchronization. Every second counts. Every role is critical for patient safety.
We all have that image, yeah. Flawless teamwork. But what's really interesting, and what CureVision points out, is that when things don't run quite so smoothly, the reasons are often baked into the systems themselves, not just, simple human error.
Exactly. So let's dig into some of these hidden blockers, as they call them.
Okay, where do we start?
Well, a surprisingly basic area, especially now, is case tracking. You'd be amazed how many OR teams still rely on, manual whiteboards or even handwritten schedules.
Really? Whiteboards?
Yeah, to track patient progress, surgical phases, who's doing what.
Wow. Okay, you can immediately see the problems there. Trying to read hurried handwriting, someone having to physically go check a board.
Yeah.
It sounds incredibly time-consuming.
It is. And as the source highlights, it's just ripe for miscommunication, delays. Definitely what they call OR communication bottlenecks. Right. Makes sense.
So the alternative, obviously, that CureVision talks about is real-time digital dashboards.
Yeah.
They update automatically. Everyone sees the same thing instantly. Better visibility, no more running back and forth to check a board. Everyone's on the same digital page.
That seems like such a fundamental fix.
It is. And, studies actually show that these seemingly small logistical delays in the OR, they can correlate with longer patient stays, even higher complication risks.
So it's not just about convenience.
Not at all. It impacts outcomes and costs. So moving digital there is pretty significant.
Okay, that definitely makes sense. Streamlining that basic info flow.
Yeah.
Seems crucial. So what's another area where these hidden blockers pop up?
Another really big one, contributing to what they term operating room workflow inefficiencies, is just the sheer number of different systems and devices. Think about it. You've got imaging systems, anesthesia monitors, surgical displays, tools for documentation. Often, they're all separate. Different interfaces, not talking to each other. Oh, man. It sounds like a real juggling act for the team.
It is.
Constantly switching between screens, different logins maybe. That must interrupt focus, slow down decision.
Exactly. And you'd think increase the potential for errors too, right?
Absolutely.
So the solution being pushed here is the integrated surgical console.
Okay, like a central hub.
Pretty much bringing all those essential systems together, unified interface, intuitive controls. The whole idea is to streamline that workflow, let the surgical team focus completely on the patient, on the surgery itself.
Yeah.
It's interesting how these things connect, isn't it? From a simple whiteboard problem to complex device juggling, it all points to a need for, real integration.
Totally. A central command center for everything vital. Seems logical. Okay, so what about after the surgery's done? Are there bottlenecks there too?
Oh, yes. Post-op processes definitely have their share. A surprisingly common one is manually archiving surgical footage.
You mean like video recordings of the procedure?
Exactly. In a lot of places, these videos are still transferred by hand, using USB drives or external hard drives.
No way. That sounds incredibly archaic and risky.
It is. Think about it. Misplaced drives, corrupted files.
And just the time. Someone having to physically manage that transfer. Seems like purely admin work, taking up valuable clinical time.
Precisely. So CureVision really emphasizes automated surgical video archiving, secure storage, directly to the hospital's PCS system. That's the picture archiving and communication system.
Oh, okay.
This process can even kick off automatically when the procedure ends. Big improvement for data security, Big improvement for workflow efficiency. No more hunting for a spare USB stick.
Yeah, that sounds like a huge upgrade, both for time and just making sure that important data is safe. Okay, what else? Where else do current systems sometimes fail the teams?
Access to critical patient data during the surgery, that's another huge one.
Okay, like what kind of data?
Things like recent lab results, maybe updated imaging scans, even real-time vital signs that aren't on the main monitor. If that info is incomplete or slow to arrive,
Right.
it can create a major bottleneck in surgical decision-making, especially when things are critical and every second counts.
Oh, I can absolutely see that. The pressure must be immense.
Yeah.
Needing a key lab value, say, and having to wait for someone to find it or call down for it or log into another system.
It completely breaks the flow and potentially, compromises care.
So what's the fix there?
Real-time patient data integration, basically making sure all that essential info is available right there on the main surgical displays. Instantly accessible.
Okay.
No delays, always the most current information, just having all the puzzle pieces right when you need them.
Makes total sense. Okay, so that covers data during the procedure. What about afterwards, the paperwork side?
Yes. The administrative burden, that's definitely another area. The time spent on manual reporting and documentation after a procedure is a significant drain.
I can imagine.
It's not just time-consuming, pulling skilled staff away from patients, but it also, increases the chance of errors creeping in.
Right. Filling things out manually after a long, demanding surgery, mistakes could happen.
And that leads to what the source call operating room documentation delays, which can have wider impacts on hospital admin, billing, compliance.
So what's the better way?
Digital OR reporting tools. Tools that can automatically capture key data points, timestamps of critical events, any annotations made during the surgery, procedural details.
Okay, so it automates a lot of that compilation.
Exactly. Simplifies compliance, cuts down that post-op admin time, and just minimizes those frustrating documentation delays.
So when you look at all these different points, the tracking, the multiple screens, the archiving, the data access, the reporting, it really paints a picture, doesn't it?
It does.
It underlines that the core issues often aren't about the surgeon's or nurse's skills or commitment. It's more, like CureVision says, about the underlying processes.
Yeah, those slow systems, the fragmented data, the kind of outdated workflows, those are the real bottlenecks in operating room performance.
We expect so much from these teams, peak performance all the time.
And they deliver, incredibly so. But to enable that consistently, they need the tools. They need systems that work with them, not against them.
They shouldn't have to constantly fight the technology they're using.
Precisely.
And that's really where companies like CureVision come in.
Yeah.
They're specifically trying to engineer solutions for these bottlenecks we've been talking about.
That's their whole focus, creating seamless interoperability between all the different OR systems, ensuring real-time data is accessible, implementing intelligent workflow management, basically supporting surgical performance from every angle.
Yeah, and their kind of core promise really sums it up. No more switching between systems, no more delayed decisions, no more missing data, just a smarter, safer, more connected operating room. It's all about creating that optimal environment, isn't it? So these highly skilled people can just focus on the patient.
Exactly. And for you, listening, understanding these specific bottlenecks, these potential solutions, it gives you a valuable lens on just how complex these high-stakes environments are.
Yeah.
And realizing that inefficiencies often come from the system, not the people. That's a powerful insight. You can apply that thinking to, well, probably lots of complex situations you encounter.
Absolutely. So I guess the main takeaway here is, when we want to improve performance in really critical settings like an OR, we have to look beyond just the individuals. We need to seriously examine the underlying systems, the processes, the tools.
That's often where the biggest gains are hiding.
Right. It makes you think, doesn't it?
It does. And maybe this is something for you to ponder. Think beyond the operating room for a second.
Yeah.
What other high-stakes environments, maybe in totally different industries, maybe something closer to your own work, might be facing similar systemic challenges?
Good question.
How could these principles we talked about, integrated systems, real-time data, smoother workflows, how could they apply elsewhere? What other kinds of hidden blockers might be lurking in complex processes you see or deal with every day?
That's a really interesting thought to leave things on. Well, we hope this deep dive into the hidden side of the operating room has given you some fresh perspective. It's fascinating stuff.
It really is.
Thanks for joining us.